Tonight, six-time Olympic medalist Kyle Chalmers returns home to Port Lincoln, but it's not to hit the pool. And the Port Augusta artist whose work will be shown on the national stage up north.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Madeline Kerr begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. Olympic champion Kyle Chalmers was absent from the national titles in Adelaide over the weekend, where the team was named for the Commonwealth Games in July. Instead, Chalmers returned to his hometown of Port Lincoln, where he tried his luck on the footy field, but that's just part of the story.
He's one of Australia's most decorated athletes, taking home an Olympic gold medal in Rio during the 2016 Games to nearly defending his own title in Tokyo last year.
Caleb Dressel, he wins by 3/100ths of a second. Kyle Chalmers was so close to doing what is so rare.
But in recent weeks, Kyle Chalmers has taken a break from the pool to return home to Port Lincoln. Here, the 23-year-old laced up the footy boots over the weekend, playing for his old club, the Elliston Roosters. Following in the footsteps of his father, Brett Chalmers, who played 75 AFL games.
It's a buzz, actually. It's great. Great lift for the boys to have, not every day you have an elite sportsman in your side, whether it be swimming or football, but it's great. We're really looking forward to it.
But despite recovering from his shoulder injury, it didn't stop the world-class swimmer from kicking the footy around with his brother.
Sando, Jackson, Kyle.
Chalmers might be winning in the pool, but the Roosters couldn't get the job done against Tommy Bay on the weekend in the B grade. Although unsuccessful, it's a game the players and the supporters won't forget.
It's going to be something that the boys have been looking forward to, and hopefully have a bit of fun, get around him and show him a true Rooster experience.
The visit comes after Chalmers took to Instagram, where he announced he would take some time off to focus on his mental health. Meanwhile, over in Adelaide, the Australian swim team announced his selection for the Budapest World Championships and the Commonwealth Games in July. Chalmers was originally ruled out due to concerns with his shoulder, and former pop star Cody Simpson was going to take his place, finishing third in the men's 100-metre fly.
Going to be tight. Temple, couple of strokes to go. He'll get there. He'll get there. Chalmers is second. Simpson is third. Cody Simpson not that far away.
The Port Lincoln local has since had a change of heart, now taking up the chance to compete in the butterfly in Hungary, taking Simpson's spot. The Lada D singer will still compete for Australia in Birmingham. Catch Chalmers and all the action from Budapest on June 17th. Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A Port Augusta artist has been named as a finalist in one of the nation's most prestigious art awards. Her work will be showcased in Darwin, amongst an incredible range of other contemporary art from across the country.
Port Augusta art represented on the national stage. Local artist Whyalla Mackenzie has been nominated as a finalist for this year's Telstra National Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Art Awards. Now in its 38th year, the Nazi Awards are the longest-running First Nations art awards in the country.
Having Whyalla, who is a local artist, to be a shortlisted member from our community in the Telstra Art Award is huge. It is the biggest first prize for First Nations people Australia-wide.
It's a big honour, it's a big privilege. I feel really lucky that I was exposed to such a brilliant art scene here in Port Augusta growing up, and then to be able to use that as stepping stones to get to where I've gotten to.
Selected from a pool of 221 entries, Whyalla is one of 65 finalists with a chance of taking out the top prize. She says she hopes her unique style and connection to culture will be well received by the judges.
I like to think I'm a mixed media artist. I like to, step outside of my comfort zone to explore new ways of telling stories.
Whyalla's always been connected to her culture through art as a young child.
After winning Port Augusta's Local Art Award in 2020, the gallery staff say Whyalla has only continued to grow as an artist.
To see her come back to Port Augusta, win Malka and then breaking ground and now Telstra Art Award, this is amazing.
My advice to other artists would be to take as many opportunities as you can, get involved in your local, community art scene.
The award ceremony will be held on the 5th of August in Darwin. Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Still to come tonight, the unique way a Port Lincoln winery is promoting itself ahead of this weekend's long lunch. And everything old is new again, the Whyalla Museum, with a new to them, fully functioning printing press. Welcome back to 7 Spencer Golf News. One of Port Lincoln's most prestigious wineries is all set to reveal its 2022 Riesling at this weekend's long lunch. Boston Bay Wines delivering its wines to locals, but not before they amped up their security.
A scene from what some would mistake for a James Bond flick. Boston Bay Wines pulling out all the stops for their 2022 Riesling, which will be on offer exclusively for locals.
We try and secure the wine for our local customers. We certainly don't wholesale this one, and we don't go Melbourne, Sydney at all, so we just keep it for the locals, and I think we're going to up the security quite a bit.
Tony Ford and his team are happy with this year's wine harvest despite some of the early rainfall.
Yeah, absolute ripper. We did put the nets on at one stage and had to take them off for some late rain. But all in all, the winemakers were thrilled, and we can't wait to get it in a wine show.
The Riesling will be making its debut at this weekend's long lunch. The Boston Winery has been an active venue in the long lunch for over the past 2 decades, with this year's event shaping up to be its best yet.
Absolute epic weekend, probably our number one event for the whole year. I think it's our 22nd year, so we haven't missed one, and a couple of the other venues have, and we welcome a few extra venues this year.
A bittersweet moment for Tony and the family, with the winery currently in the process of sale. However, he'll have his hands full in his next career venture.
People say, what am I going to do? And obviously I'll do male modelling and that sort of thing, which is fairly obvious looking at the physique here.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
A Whyalla museum has got its hands on a unique printing press from the 1900s. With some restoration and a bit of TLC, the machine is now back up and running. The museum's club now encouraging people with screen printing experience to come in and share their skills.
Back in the day when things were made to last. The Mount Laura Homestead Museum in Whyalla has a brand new piece of kit.
That pole press here was made in about 1900s, an old letterpress printing machine.
It was donated to our club by Mr. Humble from Iron Knob, an American man who was a 4th generation printer.
As a much larger machine than its modern equivalents, it required all hands on deck to transport it from Iron Knob to the homestead.
We had quite a hard job getting it here. People often see objects at museums and that, but they don't realise what an effort it is to get it there.
The contraption is still in full working condition, simply powered by the strength of the operator's leg on a treadle.
Yeah, it can get you pretty well exercised.
The homestead staff intends for the machine to not only be preserved for historical value, but so it can also be used to create new items for the community.
It does anything like commercial type printing, anything like that. Business cards that I'm doing now, letterheads.
These exhibits are a little bit unusual museums, not so fact we've got a printing press, but as you'll see over here, we've also got the lead set with it, or the type set with it, which is actually quite rare.
The museum hopes the printing press brings in more visitors and potential club members with their own unique skills. Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Our four-legged friends get ready for Broken Hill's Million Paws Walk this weekend. And the modern way Port Pirie locals are creating an immersive experience for tourists passing through. Welcome back to 7 Spencer Golf News. The RSPCA's Million Paws Walk makes its grand return this weekend, with states and territories either taking part at various locations or tuning in virtually. Staff at the Broken Hill branch are excited for its return after a 3-year absence due to COVID.
Grab your leash and get your best friend ready for the Million Paws Walk. Staff can't wait for the event on Sunday. For some of them, it's their first one.
We've got a couple of our new grad vets from Sydney here, so they volunteered to help out on the day, so I believe it's their first time.
Taking part is a win-win situation. Not only will you and your best friend get some exercise, you'll also be raising money for a worthy cause. The last time the Silver City hosted a Million Paws Walk event was back in 2019. Since then, organisers have been forced to postpone year after year due to the pandemic. The RSPCA is hoping this year's event sees people dig deep to help support the organisation.
It's been a couple of years due to COVID since we've had a Million Paws Walk. It's one of our biggest fundraisers for the RSPCA nationwide.
For people who haven't done a walk before, or it's been a while since you've done one, not only can you expect a nice walk with lots of cute puppies, but there will also be merchandise and food stalls, as well as an education team on standby to answer any questions you may have.
It's a good day to get out, take the family, take your furry ones as well, get out in the sun, some fresh air and a little bit of exercise.
This year's walk will be taking place at the picturesque Zinc Lakes in the city's south, where there is plenty of room for dogs to walk or run if they please. And there's also play equipment for the kids.
It's quite good because we do have the lake there. There's also play equipment for the kids. There's toilet facilities. So we have a nice walk around the lake a couple of times. It's quite enjoyable.
There is still some time to register. It can be done on the day, but it is preferred before then. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Every town has a story. That's the gist behind a new app and podcast, which aims to tell previously untold tales. Now, the man behind the podcast has brought his years of experience to Port Pirie.
Uniting CountrySA on Florence Street was transformed into a podcasting studio over the weekend, when founder of Story Towns, Jared Pickford, visited Port Pirie to share his knowledge and inspiration for his app.
What if every town had their own little podcast? Just like tourist radio, you're just driving through the town, this podcast starts playing, tells you about the people, or tells about the town, the history, the people that live there. We interview locals, always locals.
Storytowns partnered with Legatus at the start of the year to provide locals with the opportunity to create their own podcasts and showcase their own town. Jared has hosted 4 workshops in Port Pirie where he has shared his knowledge about the art of podcasting, including recording and interviewing techniques.
The outcome from the weekend is really amazing. Everyone was so passionate because they're passionate about their town. They know their town. They know what they want to tell people. They know what the hidden secrets and gems are that they need to tell people.
Jared says every podcast he produces must have a call to action feature, meaning there must be a reason to tell the story in the first place.
On the weekend just gone, everyone came together again, and what we did, I sat individually with each and every one of them, went through their scripts and went through their audio, and we really dissected what the scripts is going to, the end result of the script is going to be.
Storytowns will now produce the podcast to ensure the audio and end product is of high quality. Episodes will be available for the public to listen to in July. Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Stay with us after the break. A record number of hooded plover chicks in the York Peninsula. And we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back to 7 Spencer Gulf News. Good news for bird lovers in the York Peninsula today. There's now more of them. It's been revealed a record number of York Peninsula born and bred hooded plover chicks took to the skies between August and March, which is more than 2.5 times the number of baby birds compared to last season. Northern and York Peninsula Board Officer Janet Moore says it's due to the efforts of dedicated volunteers who kept a watchful eye on the eggs and chicks during the breeding season. 43 plovers were recorded mid-air compared to just 17 the year before. Heading into the cooler months, the region's sporting competitions are heating up. Teams are starting to find a rhythm and championship contenders are beginning to emerge, while others will be hoping to dodge the dreaded wooden spoon. For all the scores, here's Joshua Mercer.
Steel United have won the Alan Walker League Cup final, defeating Westlands United 5-1 at McGill Park on Saturday. They scored 4 goals in the last 10 minutes, with Logan Green kicking 2 of them. Mitchell Johnson was named man of the match. In the reserve grade game, unfortunately, Steele weren't able to walk away with a double as they went down to Westlands to 3-1. Westlands' Riley Blackham named best on ground in that game. In Broken Hill, St Joseph stayed undefeated after 4 rounds, beating Alma 5-0. In the other game, Celtic and West had a 1-1 draw. In State League results, Adelaide Cobras remain in top spot on the ladder with a 3-2 win over Modbury Vista. Second place, Salisbury United were big winners over Gawler Eagles 7-0. Vipers down Cove FC 2-0 and Noarlunga United beat Seaford Rangers 3-1. Western Strikers beat Pontian Eagles 4-2 and Mount Barker drew with the Northern Demons 2-2. Turning to round 5 of the State Amateur Premier A, Adelaide Titans beat St Peters 2-0. The win sees them stay on top of the ladder with 4 wins and a draw. Sturt Marion were too good for Pitbulls, winning 5-2. Modbury Jets down Adelaide Red Blue Eagles 2-1. Old Ignatians had a 5-2 win over the bottom place MA Hawks, and Bosa beat USC Lion 3-2. And changing gears to Whyalla 8-ball, in round 2 Old Firm had a big win over Left Hand Cats. Shamrocks beat City Slickers 5-3. The Senators easily accounting for the Rejects 5-0, Whyalla City defeating CROATIA CCs, and Lions Gold beat the Rifle Club 7-2. And lastly, in round 9 of Broken Hill Netball, South Seniors beat Jesters A by 16 points, while West Flames also had a big win, downing New Kids 29-16. That's a wrap of the weekend sports results. If you'd like your team to be featured on our next bulletin, all you have to do is contact us through our Facebook page.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Alex Sykes. Alex, it's going to be another wet couple of days.
Good evening to you, Maddie, and our viewers. You are not wrong. Those dry conditions last week are a thing of the past, that's for sure. From 3 p.m. today, Port Pirie was cloudy and reached 21. Kadina got to a high of 18 and Cooper Pedy was 19 degrees. Whyalla, Woodner, Port Lincoln and Broken Hill all reached 20 degrees. Port Augusta and Adelaide got to 21 and Cleve and Coffin Bay were both 18 degrees. Taking a look at the satellite image now, bright high-level cloud ahead of a deep trough to the west is pushing over the far west but not causing any rainfall yet. Patchy low cloud over eastern parts with a cool air mass is not causing any rainfall. Clear skies elsewhere with a broad high, a marine wind warning for SA and an initial flood warning for South Australian inland rivers also remains current. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Northeasterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas around a metre, and south to southwesterly swells below a metre. Showers across the region tomorrow. Port Lincoln and Cleve both set to reach a high of 21 degrees. Woodner will be a degree warmer with 22. Whyalla and Port Augusta both set to reach a max of 21. Kadina will get to a top of 20 degrees. Port Pirie is set to reach 21. Clare will only get to a high of 17, and over the border at Broken Hill it will be a max of 19 degrees. Taking a look further through the week now, showers continuing across the region on Thursday, except for in Cooper Pedy, where it'll be mostly sunny and get to a high of 20 degrees. Possible shower in Port Augusta, also 20. Port Pirie, Port Lincoln, Kadina and Broken Hill all will have a shower or two and reach 19. Possible shower in Whyalla, also 19 degrees. To Friday now, and those showers will have cleared in some parts. Partly cloudy conditions forecast in Port Augusta, Woodner, Cooper Pedy and Broken Hill. Possible showers in Whyalla and Kadina, both 18. Port Pirie and Port Lincoln both to reach 19. Those partly cloudy conditions are continuing in Cooper Pedy and Broken Hill on Saturday, but unfortunately showers elsewhere. Port Pirie and Woodner both to reach 20 degrees. Possible shower in Port Augusta with a top of 21. It appears the weekend is not looking any better, Maddie, and that's all the weather from me for tonight. I'll see you a little later with an update. It's back to you.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Tuesday. I'm Madeline Kerr. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates a little later, but until then, enjoy your evening. See you tomorrow. Good night.